With support from Africa Wildlife Foundation, AWF, an exposure visit for members of parliament under the Parliamentary Forum on Conservation and Sustainable Tourism to Murchison Falls Conservation Area has been conducted. The visit is aimed at knowledge exposure for the MPs on the tourism infrastructure, anti-poaching measures, human-wildlife conflict mitigation measures that Uganda Wildlife Authority (UWA) has been undertaking to support sustainable conservation.
African Wildlife Foundation has done very good work by networking with Parliament and other stakeholders and actors in this conservation area. And this is the way to go.
The MPs are first taken on a boat ride on the River Nile, where they enjoy immense beauty on this endowed river.
I have known African Wildlife Foundation longer than today. I want to thank them and appreciate them for facilitating this trip and sponsoring the coming of the members of Parliament, because this adds on the voices of conservation.
Then a game drive to the northern bank of the River Nile in Murchison Falls National Park, which is covered with spectacular savanna.
I want to take the pleasure to thank the African Wildlife Foundation for organizing this retreat and bringing us here, making us to appreciate what our country, Uganda, is.
During the process en route, a ditch on the road slightly challenges the bus, but only for a moment.
Move ahead this way. You see the force is on this side much.
This creates an experience altogether and could be one of the reasons the MPs needed to see for themselves and perhaps rethink about budget appropriation towards the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. The Parliamentary Forum on Conservation and Sustainable Tourism talks about the need to add more finances to this particular ministry.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank AWF because they have supported Uganda Wildlife Authority for over decades.
A visit to the top of the falls and a spectacular game drive with a mini conference at Para Safari Lodge give the members of Parliament great knowledge on what entails about conservation. Mr. Sudi Bamlesewa, the country director of Africa Wildlife Foundation AWF, which facilitated the process, narrates the assessment need to boost conservation efforts from the eyes of the policymakers.
So the expectation of Uganda Wildlife Authority and the expectation of African Wildlife Foundation is that the parliamentarians who are on this trip understand that we need to manage our heredity. We want to interest the policymakers, the MPs, when they go back to Parliament, to be able to talk about wildlife, to be able to talk about Uganda Wildlife Authority, to be able to convince those that are managing the treasury for them to include UWA as a priority area to be funded.
Uganda Wildlife Authority, which is mandated to conserve the wildlife resource, acknowledges the idea of the exposure visit of the members of Parliament as relevant and timely.
Yes, the members of Parliament are the people responsible for developing laws and also making the various decisions for government at that level. And for them to make the decisions, they need to make them from an angle of knowledge. And that knowledge comes from being able to know what is on the ground. So working with the forum that is responsible for conservation and sustainable tourism, we brought in 20 members of parliament from that forum to show them the work we are doing, especially focusing on how we do the protection and conservation of wildlife, but also the challenges we get, like what we are calling the human-wildlife relations, because those are very serious issues. When animals get out of the park, they interact with the communities, and there is damage, we need to engage the communities. So we brought them to see what we are doing, and then let them appreciate the challenges we go through, and they become part of the solution by, providing us with recommendations that we can use to implement better.
The MPs, most of whom had their visit in Murchison Falls for the first time, acknowledge how endowed Uganda is and the deliberate need to support conservation efforts.
For everybody in the world, no wonder it is named among the 12 wonders of the world, where the Nile rumbles into only a 7-meter stretch through the rocks. It is a waterfall which is adventurous to come to.
I feel so great being in this place where the Nile passes its beautiful waters to the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks be to God for blessing Uganda.
I want to appreciate Africa Wildlife Foundation, who have facilitated this trip for members of parliament to come and have this first-hand experience.
We want to thank again Africa Wildlife Foundation for funding this program, and not only this program, for funding a lot of activities within Uganda Wildlife Authority. It has given us trucks, graders, many things. So Africa Wildlife Foundation is really a good organization and has supported tourism, and we thank them and we wish them good luck and to continue funding the activities of wildlife.
This is the first of its kind exposure visit of MPs to a national park.
It's amazing, it's beautiful, it's heavenly. Murchison Falls.
Facilitated and organized by Africa Wildlife Foundation, with quite a number in the pipeline.